rolling in right now in the race for the presidency. Michele Bachmann just said she's getting out. What's this mean for everything? The Iowa caucus just finished up. Mitt Romney came out on top. Rick Albin's been watching the whole thing from night to finish, in the morning, afternoon, and everything that's going on right now. What do we got, Rick?
If you win by 5 votes, is that really a win, particularly if you're supposed to be the front runner? And if a guy who's never showed up on top of the polls comes in second within 5 or 10 votes, is that really a loss, or is that a big win? This is a big question mark. Iowa turned out to be a whole lot more interesting than we thought. We saw a number of people on top of the polls. We saw them go up and come down. And all of a sudden, a guy we hadn't talked about for the entire cycle comes in a very strong second. Some will say it was Rick Santorum who won last night, but first let's set the stage where we are. It was Bachmann and Perry coming in 5th and 6th. The conventional wisdom was Perry would go on to South Carolina and Bachmann might drop out. So let's hear what they had to say. First with Michele Bachmann a few moments ago and Rick Perry from last night. Here's what they had to say.
And so last night, the people of Iowa spoke with a very clear voice. And so I have decided to stand aside. And I believe that if we are going to repeal Obamacare, turn our country around and take back our country, we must do so united. And I believe that we must rally around the person that our country and our party and our people select to be that standard bearer.
But with the voters' decision tonight in Iowa, I've decided to return to Texas, assess the results of tonight's caucus, determine whether there is a path forward for myself in this race.
Returning to Texas and reassessing. In political speak, that means I'm going to get out of the race. But is he? Within the past couple of hours, after Michele Bachmann made it clear that she was going to get out of this race, Governor Rick Perry of Texas says in a tweet, we don't know if this is official, don't even know whose tweet it was, that he's going to South Carolina. So could it be that now that Perry sees Bachmann out of the race, he thinks that there is still some room in this race? Now here's the real issue. What happens to Mitt Romney if Perry gets out? Now that Bachmann is out, we don't know exactly what happens to Newt Gingrich. We know that Ron Paul is going to stay in and probably stays in at a 18 to 22% clip all the way through, because he's got a solid floor of support that he doesn't seem to build above. But the whole question is, if there are fewer conservatives draw that vote, does that help Santorum and somehow take away the inevitability for Mitt Romney? A lot of questions out of Iowa that we didn't expect.
And you were talking earlier this morning as we were discussing this whole situation as it was developing here, that this might be Mitt Romney's Hillary Clinton moment.
It really could be. I mean, first of all, I am surprised. I was a little surprised that Rick Perry said he was going back to Texas. Now I'm even more surprised after he said that he may be considering going to South Carolina. But if that part of the field, remember it's always been 25-75. 25% of the folks have always been solidly behind Romney, but the other 75% of Republicans that get polled are uncertain. And that's why you saw first Michele Bachmann, then Herman Cain, and Rick Perry, and Newt Gingrich all rise, then fall, and then it was Santorum. But if you start taking away the Bachmanns and perhaps the Perrys, we don't know what happens to Gingrich, if those people start gravitating to one candidate instead of 3 or 4, that's big trouble for Romney, who hasn't been able to break that 25% mark. Let's face it, you don't win at 25% if there are only 2 people in the race.
It just got really interesting.
It did.
I thought it was as interesting as it could get.
Yeah, about midnight last night, it got very interesting.
Yeah, it certainly did. All right, thank you so much.